In this video, we're gonna go over management by statistics for your dental office. So how to use it, how to implement it, how to start it, so that your office can perform better without you being so hands-on in the details of everything. So the first thing that's important is to understand what the dentist's role should be. So the dentist should be the CEO of the office, but this does not mean that they should be the office manager, because they shouldn't be that. What this means is they should be involved in the big decisions that affect the future of the office, but not any of the day-to-day regular decisions. So if your office is planning a new strategy for next year, yes, you should be involved. If you're thinking of dropping a huge insurance company, yes, you should be involved. But if Nancy has been late 3 times this week, that's an office manager's job, and that should not actually involve the dentist, right? If you have a tiny office, it's fine, obviously, but that's not the role that the dental office needs to have, right? The goal for a dentist shouldn't be to be the manager. It should be to be the CEO. And by CEO, we mean sitting in a boardroom on your comfy chair, and everyone comes to you, tells you what's going on in your company, and you give them a yes, no, give them a quick sentence of advice, and then they go and make it happen, right? That's exactly what we're talking about with management by statistics. So if you're in a huge company and you're the CEO and you've got all the different departments around you at your board meeting, what those departments have brought is their numbers from the last quarter or last month or last week. And they're giving you a brief summary, right? In your big oval office, they're giving you a brief summary of everything, showing you the data, and you're making a decision. And this is exactly what you should be doing in your dental office, except instead of having an actual person as a division, you just have their numbers. So there's a few key things to keep in mind when using management by statistics. The first thing, and what I personally think is the most important, is that you as the CEO, the dentist and owner, needs to look at everything, but doesn't need to be getting everything. So you need to see every metric in your office, but you shouldn't be gathering them all. You can be gathering some of them, but it's exhausting. And what we want you to do as the dentist, the reason we want you in charge in this kind of system is because you know the most about the office, you have the vision, you know where you want this office to go. And so what we want to be able to do is briefly take a look at everything, make some decisions, and then implement those decisions. Right? What we don't want you to have to do is have to dig in and find these actual numbers. Because if you're sitting in your Dentrix or Eaglesoft for 2 hours trying to find these numbers, you're no longer that CEO in the big office making a quick decision with the vision in mind. You're that irritated employee who's just been trying to fiddle around with your dental software for 2 hours. So you can get it yourself, but the important things are on the day that you make a decision, which should be once a week. Once a week, you take a look at all of your office's numbers, where they have been in the last week. And the only thing we're looking for is whether the number went up or the number went down. We are not looking at the actual value. We're not actually reading numbers. We're just looking at graphs. What this does is it lets us see it better without getting an overload of information. We can just look at the visual of graphs, see which ones are going up, see which ones are going down. And the ones that are going up, you essentially want to do the same thing. And the ones that are going down, you essentially want to figure out what needs to change. And this seems very simple, but it's very, very, very powerful, and it is the #1 way that large companies grow. There's a popular video with Muhammad Ali and Bruce Lee, and they're asked if talent or hard work is more important. And they basically say neither. What they say is consistency is the most important, which you could group with hard work, but it's not the same thing, right? It's not about working super hard. It's not about being the world's most gifted dentists with the most talented hands is about being very consistent about it. And so that's another reason why the doctor shouldn't be the one putting these numbers together, because the doctors are busy and they're not going to be able to do it every week. And this needs to be done every week. There's a reason that this idea of management by statistics is so popular. It's because it works, but it doesn't work in 2 weeks. You can't do this for 2 weeks and just see your office grow. But if you do it for 4 months, you will absolutely see your office grow. And if you continuously do it after that, you will never have a problem running your office again. And so the one that I'm talking about right now is technically called Gracie Management by Statistics. And I prefer it because it's dental specific and because it's patient friendly, right? There's a lot of dental management out there that doesn't leave the best taste in our mouth as a dentist, from how it treats the patients and how it treats the office kind of like a machine. This one is very patient friendly, which is why I love it so much. But there's a ton of them out there. I'll put a downloadable PDF in the description that has all of the details for this so that you can start doing it at your office. Because there's a lot of nitty gritty and there's a lot of statistics that you should keep track of and a lot of ways to do it. And so I'll leave that whole workbook there so you can download it and implement this whenever you want. But the last important thing is to make sure you're tracking enough statistics. So your statistics are basically going to show you every different area of the office, right? So there's certain companies like Dental Intel and softwares like that. So what they do is they give you a good amount of data, which is nice, but it's really not enough. So they're going to give you things like collections, new patients, your main most important numbers. But those numbers are what we call lag measures, meaning it's the result of something. So the number of new patients that I saw last month was the result of everything else, right? I really need to see the metrics of what got me that number. So I need to see how many people saw my ads, how many people were referred, how many people clicked and used my ads, how many people drove by and saw the office, right? How many people from each different area first contacted my office. And then I need to know how those were handled, right? How many of those people who contacted the office were scheduled? And of the people that were scheduled, how many showed up? And of how many people showed up, how many people scheduled for their recall appointment, right? And so that's just for new patients. And so you need that kind of detail for everything, right? Without that kind of detail, you don't get any of the same effect, right? So with that broader kind of detail that you get from the companies like Dental Intel, it's helpful, but it's not enough to really know what's going on in your practice, right? You really need to know every little detail so that you know which knobs to turn, where to put your focus. Otherwise, you're wasting energy, and otherwise you're turning into the manager, right? If you're a very in-tune CEO, right? You're the CEO and you know exactly what's going on. All you need to do is manage by these numbers. If you're a CEO that's just looking at, we're making profit, we're making collections, then you don't know which things to get involved in. And that's when you start to be a manager and just work on things that you can visually see instead of focusing on the numbers. If you are looking for a company to do this, the one that we use is Gracie Management, and they will do every single metric for us, and they'll communicate and train our staff for them. And they'll also manage it from the overhead, so they can look at they're looking at all of our monthly payments and bills and seeing which ones are going up, which ones are going down. And they have a database to let us know, like, oh, it looks like you're paying too much for your cement or paying too much for your flood insurance or stuff like that, which is very helpful for me. But that should be a brief enough overview for you. And the download link in the description is a full step-by-step and startup guide. So it'll tell you all of the statistics to track, how to track each of them, and a couple of key points about doing this so that you can get this started in your office right away. Remember, consistency is the key. So you don't need to be amazing at this from the start. Don't have your expectations too high for the first few months. Just slowly track it, slowly improve it, and this will cut your stress as an owner in half, and it'll make your office grow much, much more smoothly and much more predictably than any other way.